Welcome to Learning Life Skills Together. This is our weekly community Zoom meeting where our guests help us to go deeper into the 4 life skills and open up a huge array of chances to practice them. Hello, everyone, and welcome to number 105 in our Learning Life Skills Together community Zoom meetings. So I have with me this time Veronica Subbio, who is a school nurse at Upland Country Day School in Chadds Ford, Unionville district. And so before we dive into what she and I have been talking about, I'm going to ask you to help all of us to settle in. So you could bring your attention right now into your body, just the way you are, just the posture that you're in. Some people find that closing their eyes helps them to come a little more into the sensations of the moment. So there are sensations surrounding your posture that you're in. Maybe you feel your feet on the floor, or you feel them where you've put them. Maybe you feel your thighs, buttocks, back in a chair. Maybe you've decided to lie down and listen to us. Maybe you're standing, and so you feel your feet on the ground. And in any of those postures, gravity has a hold of you. So you might notice that you are being held by gravity. And that there's a way that you can be that has a little bit of ease in it because you're not doing the work. Gravity is doing the work. How much can you let gravity do is the question here. How much effort can you give up and let gravity take over? So one thing that is worth playing with a little bit is to notice how your sensations of your body react to your breathing. So when you breathe in, is there maybe a little rising up of your body, a little bit of lightness, a little more effort, though, a little bit of we're doing something, and as you breathe out, maybe there's a little dropping back and a little letting go of effort. And maybe you feel gravity a little more. Maybe you feel a little heavier as opposed to the lightness of the in-breath. So if you'd like to investigate that, this is your chance to check it out. What is it like just as your breath comes in? What is it like when it goes out? You don't have to be doing anything, just paying attention to this ongoing process of breathing. And maybe you take a deeper breath in this time and let it out, maybe through your mouth. And maybe one more. And if your eyes are closed, you could think about opening them. When you're ready, you could open them. And so I can't ask our audience how this was for them, but I can ask Veronica. And so, Veronica, how was this for you? How are you right now?
Oh my goodness, I can't thank you enough. This just was so helpful. It helped me to just leave everything outside of the door of my office and connect with myself and just
Mm,
feel peaceful and ready to just connect right now with you and with the audience. It was really
yeah.
helpful. Yes, thank you so much.
And so, one way of thinking about it is that it helps our attention. It helps us bring attention to what's exactly happening with us in the moment. What's happening around us as well as what's happening in us. And so you were saying you feel peaceful. And so that noticing is the kind of attention that we talk about in our Learning Life Skills program. The first of the four skills is the skill of attention. Just this, seeing what's around us, getting in touch with it, and getting in touch with ourselves inside. Huge skill. All the other skills rest on that one. If we know how we're feeling, then we know, oh, you know what? I could take some deep breaths, or I could feel my body giving to gravity to get myself settled in because maybe I'm feeling a little agitated. So I can work with my emotions as I encounter them, as I see them in the moment. And the next one is pretty much the same. What do I need? What do I need right now in this position that I'm in? Our kids, as they get older, don't necessarily get to resolve the things that are going on with them that they don't care for, right? They have to sometimes wait it out. And so, this idea of being able to be resilient and finding our way um, to a place where we can be with what's going on, in our world that maybe we don't prefer those feelings. So we can do some things that are positive, that help us to get through those times. An awful lot of our society opts for things that aren't necessarily good to get through those times. And so we really want to have our kids have an understanding. Yeah, there's stuff we can do that makes us feel better, and a lot of it has to do with our own ability to make and to do things in our lives, right? When we move from feeling sorry for ourselves to practicing the guitar or whatever project we have, it changes the situation for a while and gets us out of that tiny, tight little knot that we're in, moves us out. And the last thing is really actually knowing what we want and being able to communicate that to others. So those are our four skills, and we've been talking mainly about that last skill of being able to communicate well with others on a really authentic way. This is what I need. In other words, this is who I am. And so that idea, I think, is really important for our kids to learn and to understand. And in my opinion, my not terribly humble opinion, one of the things that has been getting in the way is our heavy use of social media and other things. And I know that that is something that is close to your heart. So I'm hoping you might talk to me about an initiative that you are working with there.
Yeah. So, thank you so much for having me on today. As you mentioned, my name is Veronica Subbio. I'm a school nurse at a local school here in Kennett Square in the Chatsworth School District. My passion really comes from my experience of being a nurse and also being a mother of two young children. I have two daughters that they are 8 and 12 years old.
Hmm.
So, um, giving them the tools to become resilient, independent, to name their feelings, it was a big goal for me, not just as a nurse, but also as a mother. And that's when I decided I wanted to become a school nurse. I've been a school nurse for the last 4 years. So my journey started when, right after COVID, I noticed one of my kids, the difference between the two of them and how really being isolated made a big impact on one of my kids.
Yeah.
And that's when I look for it, for a school that it will provide these great experiences for one of my kids, that she needed to be outside because during COVID we needed to be inside. We stopped talking to people, we stopped building connections, and that really caused a big impact on her. And I fell in love with school, with this wonderful school that they believe in just being traditional, like playing outside, teaching outside, kids being kids, letting them enjoy more of their childhood without screens or social media. And I loved it so much, the school, that once my kid was enrolled in school, I said, I want to belong to this place. And I decided to become a nurse there. So I'm really passionate about mental health, mindfulness, outdoor learning, helping families create stronger human connections, which I think that is the base for a successful society. And I am also involved in this new movement that it actually was created in California that is called Wait Until Eighth, which means we as parents, we wait until eighth grade to provide a cell phone with social media for our kids. That doesn't mean that the kids, they are not going to be connected. They are not going to be allowed to use a phone, because I completely understand that, because the sports of many different reasons, we are going to need to be able to give a call to one of our kids, right? The most important thing is that with wait until eighth movement, you just don't give your kid permission to join social media.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to do that. Um, One of the things that that sort of comes out of social media, I think, is that we stop being authentic. We do the things that will attract others to our um, postings or whatever it is that we're up to on social media. And so we're not necessarily being who we are. We're cultivating a different way of being in order to fit in that area. And, you know, it seems to me that the more we have a chance to develop ourselves in that authentic way, the better off we are. And what you're proposing, what Wait Until Eighth proposes, is that the kids get a chance to do that, to really be who they are.
Yeah, and also that has to do a lot, not just because of my background being a nurse. I think that it also has to do with me being a traditional, coming from a traditional Latin family. Latin families are big,
Hmm.
and we grew up with cousins, with aunts, with grandparents, and I learned that the most time that I spend it outside, it just made me more confident, right? And it made me more resilient. And that's something that I want to, those kind of experiences, I think that they were helpful for me, and I want to pass it on that onto the kids that I work with in at school and my own kids, right?
Yeah.
Right now we live in a world that is so fast paced, right? We are lacking of connecting with people. We are so busy in the next trend, in the next activity, and we need to slow down a little bit. And that's what I get to see many times at the school. You know, I get some kids that I are ill, but another kids that they come to my office and they don't know how to name what's happening, a headache or a stomach ache, or sometimes they just come to me and say, "Well, my I feel this pressure on my chest," and sometimes they don't know exactly what's happening to them, and I'm really happy that I'm able to help them. Okay, let's sit down, let's take a deep breath. What is happening? Do we complete your homework? Are you thinking about the next activity? What's happening? And I'm really happy when I'm able to help them that to notice that it's not really a headache or a stomach ache. What is happening is their anxiety. And to help them to walk through the point where they realize, okay, this is really my anxiety and this is what is making me feel worried, is I feel like I have accomplished something right there, right?
Oh my goodness. Yes, that is a huge chunk of what we teach in particularly the area around emotion regulation, being able to look around you, like I was saying, with attention. We pay attention to what's around us and how we're feeling. And so, oh, I'm feeling I have something happening in my stomach, but I don't know what it is. And one of the really important things for our kids is that they develop a vocabulary around emotion, around what it is that they're feeling. Because frankly, many adults even, are pretty much, well, I'm mad, I'm happy, I'm sad, and they let it go at that. When we have so many words in English and in Spanish for the ways that we feel. And the more of them we know, really, think about this one, everyone. The more of those we know, the more finely we can talk about and feel our feelings. We don't have to be mad at our sister. We can be irked with her, which is a whole different feeling and a whole different possible response to it. You know, if I'm mad, I'm going to act in certain ways, probably pretty big ways. If I'm only irked, it's going to be much smaller. And so it all sort of revolves around that capacity to name things. And the miraculous part, if I may be so bold here, is that when we do find the name for it, when we search through the words that we know and we find the one that fits, it helps us to calm down and not feel that way because it brings our what we would call as adults our executive function part of our brain online. We're using the language part, and that helps to calm us down as we use that executive prefrontal cortex part as we talk about it. We name it to tame it. It's a really, really important thing for our kids growing up, and it's important for our adults too, because as I said, they're often not filled with vocabulary around how they feel. We could do with a lot more talk about our emotions, frankly.
Yeah, and that's one of the beauties that we have at a school, that this school in particular has this amazing campus, right? It's not like the traditional school where it's just one building. So the majority of our buildings, the kids, they need to go outside to go class to class. And
Wow.
that is just such a big opportunity for them to take a deep breath, to pause, to just relax for a little bit. Matter of fact, when I have a kid that I notice that is going through some anxiety episode, I love to be able to step out of my office and walk around campus, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I like to do with them is, what can you hear? What do you smell? Close to us, we have horses. And that's really beautiful to hear them
Yeah.
running around. And that brings the kids back to their center, to their connecting with their emotions, and just to be at peace. Because in their heads, they're going all these thoughts about school, about what happened at home, about what happened with his friends, and what, as soon as they leave my office, what they are going to have to face, right?
Yeah.
But that's a beautiful thing about this school, that we are able to be outside. Sometimes they are able to have classes outside, and that is connecting right there. That helps the kid
Yeah.
connecting with nature.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in our program, we talk about these moments out in nature giving us a break. We connect with nature because we are nature. We're a species of animal, and for thousands, tens of thousands of years, human beings have lived in nature. And only in the last 150 years have we spent most of our time, or spent a lot of our time inside. And, 80 years ago, 100 years ago, people were outside 80 or 90% of their waking hours. We are inside about 90% of our waking hours now. That's the average for humans. We're not living the way we were evolved to live, the way we were made to live, you know? And so to actually be able to step out, as you say, for 5 minutes and walk to another class, your next class in another place, and connect with nature, it's a huge gift, and it's not a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal that people get to do it, but it's not a big deal. I mean, you got 3 minutes, step outside, look at the sky, see what the clouds are up to, you know? It changes how you feel.
Absolutely. Just the fact that you give me that introduction of, let's just take a deep breath, feel your feet, your arms. It was a gift. You helped me out to slow down my emotions, be at peace, find my center, and be ready for something, right? And that's my goal as a nurse with my kids when they come to see
Mm,
me,
yeah,
just to help them to go back to their center and be successful out there at life, in
yeah,
life, because they're
yeah,
going to have to deal with their friends. And at this age, kids, they go through many different emotions where they feel that they are sometimes going to a battle, right? And that's my goal, to just be helpful and help them out to be successful in finding and naming their emotions.
yeah, yeah. Really, really great stuff. And there's this other side of this that you were mentioning. I mean, the sort of struggle to find not only yourself but your place and where you belong. So this is kind of the last module of our program, and the most sophisticated skill in our four life skills is being able to communicate clearly with others, effectively communicate. And so we need to understand ourselves and what it is that we need and want, because that's usually where the misstep is. We're not getting what we want, and we can't make anybody understand what it is that we want. Right? So all our learning of vocabulary, our learning of ways of approaching people, really important there. Um, and then, as with the other skills, we say, well, how do you practice this and where do you practice this? Well, practicing being able to communicate what you need in a place that is accepting of you is really super important, right? And it sounds like you have got that sort of built in, that that ability for the kids, or the desire for the kids to do
Yeah, and I think that um really talking about this important part, I think that here is when community comes into place, right? And I think that school, it does a wonderful job building a community for these kids, and that's my goal also as a mother, to build community for my own kids. And I think that parents in these new stages of life, we really struggle building that community, right? So school is wonderful because when we have a strong community, kids are able to come out of that shell, right? We need to find our own village. That's one of the things that I work very hard right now in finding our own village. Me coming from Ecuador, where families are really big, and here in the States is just my husband, my daughter, my two daughters, and my two dogs, and we don't have any more immediate family. Now
that.
I'm in this situation where I need to create my own village. And I know that I'm not alone on this, right? Because
Oh,
for different circumstances and because we are busy professionals, we are far away probably from families, and then the school becomes your village. The parents that you get to meet along the way become your village, and that gives support a kid in order for them to keep just growing, for them to learn how to communicate better, because we are giving them a base. So
yeah.
that's a wonderful job also that the school does. And that's also one of my goals, not just as a professional nurse, also as a mom, and a part of being in the community, just to create this village wherever I go. School, as a nurse, a school nurse, as a parent, in my own community. And I think that in that way, I'm also helping the kids.
Yeah, yeah. And it strikes me that this kind of belonging that we're talking about, where we can be who we really are, is best done in real life, in our bodies together in a place, rather than online. So I really, I'm sort of connecting back to what we started with, this idea of how can we, have the conversations we need to have, because there's another dimension to this whole, if I can see what's going on, understand what's happening with me, be able to work with it and be able to ask for what I need. This is, you know, basic mental health. When I can
Mhm.
do those things, I'm doing pretty well. There's a little bit of magic at the end here, in terms of when I know what it is that I need and I know what it is that you need, we can work it out. And that's where, kids start to become adults and start to get some capacity for building their own communities that really work, and contributing to the communities that they're in, to see that everybody has something that they need too. So it's sort of as we're growing up, and maybe we get to that 14-year-old spot, that eighth grade spot, and we're starting to realize that other people are people too, and that they have needs and wants as well. And we can help them get what they need, just as we're expecting people to help us get what we need in that community. And so these really basic skills sort of build up into that bigger skill that seems sometimes out of reach. Frankly, as you look at the world, or as I look at the world anyway, that's the struggle, is to be able to, for all of us to be able to be authentic together and to work on making sure everybody has what they need and the ability to get what they want. So,
Yeah, I think that is very important that we connect as parents, as an adult with kids. I think that that's very important these days to slow down, to just nurture them, build connection. We don't need to be perfect parents. We just need to give a quality of time, right? I do remember, and that's something as a mom that sometimes I was stressed out about it, but then I remember, how did my dad did all of this? I was raised just by my parent because my mother, she passed when I was 9 years old,
mm,
and he had to work many long hours, but it was the quality of time. It
yes.
was the time that he took to connect. It was the time that he took to communicate that it helped me. So that's what I'm trying to replicate now, in this time with my own kids,
Yeah.
trying to just communicate, helping them to be independent, confident, and trying to stay away from devices, right? Because
Well, yeah.
when there is a device present, I feel like that right there is stop our communication, and and that's something big.
And we have the evidence for that. There's a study that is constantly referenced called the iPhone study. And
Yeah, it's just rewiring the brains of the kids.
yeah.
The scrolling on the phone. There are many important studies about just kids being so susceptible to just the scrolling of the phone, and that's how they're immediately their reactions, they become just the struggles for them, and they can regulate themselves, right? Because they get that satisfaction immediately, and that's something very important that I get to see at school as a
Yeah.
school nurse, that they need to learn how to regulate.
How to regulate themselves,
Hmm.
not to be regulated by something outside like their cell phone.
Exactly.
That's 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 so important, just in, again, in the mental health situation. If we're relying on things outside of us to regulate us, we can make a lot of poor choices. But if we have the skill ourselves to regulate ourselves, then, the world is a lot less scary for parents. Let me put it that way. You know.
Yeah, unfortunately, the kids with devices, they get that immediate satisfaction. And really, when they become bored, that's when something good comes out, right? They go
Yes.
outside, they go play, they go interact with their brother, their sister, they communicate.
Yeah.
Devices at that moment stop all that connection. And that's a challenge. That's a challenge at school. And we as parents, me as a nurse.
It is hard, and the kids don't necessarily like to hear it. I said to my own child when she would come in and say, "I'm bored. I would say smart people are never bored, and she would walk away. She would find something to do. She would, I mean, she was not going to say, "I'm not a smart person." But she also really, I asked her recently, she's in her 40s. I asked her recently, what she thought of that phrase, and she's, I never liked it. I still don't like it.
Well, you are really nice
But
because when my kids they said they are bored, what I said is, "Oh, here is the pile of laundry. Do you want to fold it?" And they
okay,
immediately they are
yeah,
not bored anymore.
that works too. That works too. So yeah, so um, yeah, they probably may or may not come to appreciate that
Yeah, I know that
over
right
time.
now they do not appreciate it,
Yeah,
but I know that in the long run, um, they're gonna learn that that was helpful for them to
yeah,
just find what to do, what's the next thing that they can do. Just be outside. That's why we need to go back. We need to go back to basics. That's what I'm advocating for. Let's go back to basics. Let's slow down.
yeah. Slowing down, um, as we did at the start, really lets us think more clearly and express ourselves more clearly as well, which is, kind of the base level of living together successfully and happily. So seems like we're getting to the point where I ask you for a word of wisdom, which could be, you know, a lot. It could be just one word, and I call that a watchword when it can be really boiled down. So maybe you've been thinking?
Well, I think that the biggest thing for me, as a mom, also, not just as a health provider, is that we don't need to be perfect. We are raising kids all together. We are raising emotional, healthy kids. Um, we need to connect more deeply with them, and children will remember that. Children will remember warm. Will remember that we were present for them, and they will remember that they felt safe. They will remember the laughs that they had with us, and those are special moments that we can cultivate, and we can help them to just connect with us.
Wonderful. And what I really love about your words of wisdom here is that it's not, oh, you need to take a lot of time and do this. It's moments. It's, making those moments happen. It doesn't take funding. It doesn't take 2 weeks off. It doesn't take anything like that. It's just showing up, being present, you know, learning life skills together is the name of our program. And so the real emphasis is on that together part. When we can do that, we're making progress. We're helping our child to develop. So
Definitely.
I love it so much. Thank you so much
No,
for
thank you for inviting me.
all
I hope
right.
that we make some change today, and we make a little impact on somebody today.
Yeah,
Right? We
just
go
like
by steps.
that's all we ask, right?
Exactly. That's what all we need. Just a little change.
Just a little bit. All right, thanks so much.
Thank you so much. You have a great afternoon.
You too.